Hi, Shardul. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're audible. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good as well. Um, Perfect. I'm not sure who's the third person, but I'm gonna assume it's the AI. Perfect. What time is it at your place?
It's 6 p.m. here. I'm in
Okay.
Pacific time
I
zone.
think both of us are in the Pacific, right? You're in Cleveland. I'm sorry, I'm still not extremely used to US time zone, so we're in the same time zone.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. How was your day today?
It was fine. I'm still a bit sick, I guess. I have a bit of a cold, but it's fine. It's not that bad yet. So I've recovered a lot.
Okay,
It was bad yesterday or 2 days, but it's a
you're
bit
better
bad.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. I know that the weather change can do that a lot to all of us. So I hope you're
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what brief you have been given. Do you know what we're doing here today? Like, do you have an idea?
I'm assuming it's about training me for like a behavioral interview or any sort of
Um,
interview.
yes, correct. So we'll talk a little bit more about behavioral. So the idea was that they wanted to understand what can I do in terms of training someone for behavior interview? So I am a coach. I sit out of Seattle. I'm also a recruiter. So I'm just trying to make sure that I can share these resources with everybody who's out there. So I was given an opportunity to train you. So what I'm thinking right now is we won't go for an hour, of course. What we'll do is I would ask a little bit of questions in the beginning. We'll just take it as if it's a normal recruiting call for 20 minutes at least. Why do I say that? Because then I'll get an idea of like how do you answer things, and then what is your storytelling process, how does your body structure, language, everything looks like, and then I can give you in the end like tips and tricks and everything to understand that where do we need to start with if we need to start training on that. That
Okay.
being said, my feedback would definitely be extremely unfiltered because that is what I'm here for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so take all the questions as if you would be answering it to a recruiter for an actual interview call.
Okay.
Either in terms of language, in terms of making notes, in terms of keeping your nerves calm, anything that you think that you would want to perform in front of the recruiter, I would want to take me as that and then take the next 20 minutes for that. Do
Okay.
you have any questions? I know because it came all of a sudden for you, but then do you have any questions for me?
Oh no, I don't really have any questions.
Okay, perfect. I would definitely be kind of juggling between screens because in one I really want to see you, but I also want to take a little bit of notes. So I would be doing all of that, but then don't worry if even if I'm not looking at you, even if it's like typing, I would make sure that um I'm observing the things that I need to observe. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, all right, perfect. So let's start with the very beginning of it. Hi Shardul, thank you so much for taking time. How are you doing today?
Hi, Shreya. I'm doing really good. How about you?
I'm good as well. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that we could meet on this scheduled time. I'm very excited for our conversation. Before we start, do you have any questions for me or do you have any concerns?
No, I don't have any concerns right now.
All right, then let's just jump into it so that we can utilize the whole 20-25 minutes really well for us. Shardul, I have your resume. Of course, I know your LinkedIn. Thank you for applying for the role. Can you give me a little bit of information about yourself to just get started with?
Yeah, sure. So I would describe myself more of a front-end full stack developer with over 3 years of experience. And I'm deeply passionate about open source software security. My journey in technology started when I did my bachelor's in computer engineering from Pune Institute of Technology. I did my master's in computer science from Indiana University, where I've honed my skills in a way in various programming languages and technologies. Uh, and then the reason that I applied for this role is because I went through the job description and it aligned perfectly well with what I wanted, what personal professional skills I have, and personal interests I have. I have a lot of experience which spans from working on security solutions for like full stack development to contributing to open source projects. At Schoolment, I focus specifically on enhancing applications and their security. I significantly improved the accessibility of the website, and I reduced the incidents through good, by following good coding practices. I even worked as a graduate software research assistant at Indiana University, where I worked on an open source project. I worked on creating an interface between Python and C++ so that C++ functions specifically for sparse matrix operations can be used by Python graph developers for page rank or visualization or any such sort of operations. And I'm familiar with a lot of programming languages. I'm familiar with Node.js, Angular, C++, Python, and I also have experience with version control like Git. So I'm really excited to work about this opportunity to work on this project, on this in this role, and I'm looking forward to having a great discussion with you.
That's great. Fantastic. Thank you so much for giving me an idea. And I can only understand that summarizing everything of what you've done in last 3 to 5 years and within 2 minutes can be difficult. So you did a great job on that. I would love to hear a little bit more about what was the last project you were working on. And I see on your resume that you were laid off. So I'm guessing that you were working on a project. Talk a little bit about that and then also talk about what were the challenges during that project.
Yeah, so I worked with an enrolling educational platform called Schoolmate. So where I was tasked with various things to do. So I worked on developing new components for the uh, application and migrating it from old technology like Angular to migrating it to React. I performed testing on the components to ensure that the website is production ready and the code was peer reviewed. The main interesting thing that I did there, one of the main things that I did there was I used NLP and machine learning uh, component algorithms for the model design itself, so that it streamlined the enrollment process for every user that came on the website. Also, it increased traffic on the website by 25% through keyword search. I also managed to mitigate 90% of the security incidents there. So I worked as a full stack developer, but I did a lot of work as a security engineer as well. So I worked in multiple fields, you can say, in a way.
Okay, perfect. And then did I hear you talk about the challenges with the projects?
Challenges were, I think it was the first time I was working on a website like this in a startup capacity. Initially, the company that I worked for while I was a software engineer was a large multinational corporation. So there was a hierarchy that was being followed there. So I was more used to that. So getting to work in a fast-paced environment was a great challenge, but it was a challenge initially. You need to learn a lot before you actually start contributing, and the learning curve is very steep, so you have to do everything fast. You have to show results. You cannot slack at any stage. You cannot take your time. So that was a challenge, but in the end I was able to contribute, and that's really great.
Okay, that's really good. Thank you for answering that. And then while we're talking about it, give me an idea, how do you actually manage if you have multiple projects or like multiple deadlines on your plate? How do you manage that in general, even if it's there, even if it's not challenging, but how do you actually manage multiple projects?
So if I have multiple projects in my pipeline, or if I have multiple deadlines, what I do on a typical day, uh, if I have something like this, is I would do some part of each project every day. Like it won't be equal parts. Like if 100% of my day is there, I won't divide it into four parts of 25%. I'm doing project one, 25% I'm doing project two. The proportions will be different, but I would divide my day like this. It would be according to the priority. If project 3 needs to be done as the quickest, or it has the earliest deadline, so I would give it more time. Then I would do some parts of project 2, project 4, project 1, and something like that. So I would do some part of each project if I have deadlines.
Okay. And have you been in a situation where you were not able to deliver a project on schedule or on time and that affected the company in general?
Uh, I wasn't exactly in a situation where it directly affected the company, but I was reprimanded about it in a sense. So I
Okay.
was working on a IBM project called Multi Cloud Management Platform AIFs, which is an application that gives a company or a vendor an idea about how their network infrastructure is doing. They can check if a server is going down constantly. So that application allows you to see an entire analytics about the infrastructure. So
Okay.
my task was to integrate some extra analytics card into it, specifically for a tool called Netpool Operations Insight, which would give you like event patterns. So it would give you a pattern, say something like every Sunday this server gets used up to 50% or
Mm,
60%. So something like that. So it would categorize those events accordingly. So I was tasked with that project. So I was tasked with creating small snippets of code to check if it could be integrated into the dashboard or not, or how it could be integrated into the
mm,
dashboard.
mm, mm,
So initially it was my fault. I didn't gather the requirements correctly. I didn't really communicate well with my manager in terms of what was needed to be done initially while learning about
mm,
the project in a way. I was told that I should take notes, but I should have been specific as to what kind of notes should have been taken, and
mm,
I should have had a presentation ready or not. So there was a miscommunication there, which was my fault.
mm,
So one of my higher managers told my immediate manager that he's not doing well, and in my review I was told that you have done okay, but you need to improve in this aspect. So I got a talking to in that
mm,
review meeting. So
mm,
uh, that was a humbling experience, and I learned a lot from it.
mm,
uh, it is something that I'm not ashamed of, because I learned a lot from it. And I think uh, yeah, that is the one incident I would say where it affected the company in a way, but I was able to recover from it, and contribute in a meaningful way, more importantly.
mm.
And they gave me great feedback in my next review. So overall it was it wasn't a bad memory overall.
Yeah, no, learning is always a good experience. So thank you for sharing that, of course. Give me an idea, like, what do you think you need to learn or do better to perform better as a software engineer, just in general, like as a software developer? If you would have to assess yourself today, what do you think you need to learn more or to do more to perform better?
I think one of the things I need to learn is to not panic too easily or get frustrated with myself too easily,
Hmm.
because sometimes I don't realize that if I persist, I can find the solution, or if I collaborate with people, I can find the solution. So
Hmm.
I get stuck in my head, and if I try one way to solve a problem and it doesn't work out,
Hmm.
I start questioning myself,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is not a good thing, obviously. And I have been working on it, but it is something that still bothers me a bit, and that is something I would love to work on in the future and make sure that that never happens again.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Mm.
while because we're talking about it, and then I know that we usually don't talk about loud what we need to work on. What do you think would help you in this situation? So, like, how would you improve? What would you learn to make it better for you?
I think I would try meditation techniques, or
Mm-hmm.
I say meditation because I was thinking of like taking deep breaths,
Mm-hmm.
uh, trying closing closing my eyes, clearing my mind in a way, or even taking a break in a way. It's not like I don't take breaks, but when I'm relentlessly going after something, you're trying to find the solution no matter what. And if you get stuck, you're stuck in something and you cannot get out. It's like quicksand. The more you try, the more you get stuck. So sometimes you just need to take a break at some point, or try something different.
Yeah.
Or if the in the worst case, ask someone, which which is something that it's not like I don't do it, but it's
Mm,
something sometimes you feel less of yourself if you ask
mm,
someone for their help.
mm,
So these are things I would try to resolve my issues.
Right. Okay, I think that's a great place to start, definitely, like, keeping calm and taking deeper breaths and analyzing what needs to be the second step. Um, Perfect. But then, can you talk about a situation or a project where you feel that the project wasn't completed or couldn't deliver a result because of the performance of someone else in the team? And how did you tackle with that situation?
uh, there was a project that I worked on at Persistent Systems for a banking portal project.
Mm-hmm.
I was mostly there as a front end developer. I worked with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. I was working in a group of three people.
Hmm.
Uh, we we were the team that was uh, given that specific task.
Hmm.
So the project was not going anywhere in the sense that we were only told to make design changes to the application for the most part. But
Hmm.
even then, I always felt that daily I was the one making an update, which was something that I had done. The others were just saying that they are still working on this issue, and it wasn't changing.
Hmm.
So it always felt that uh, we were not making progress because one of the members was just not contributing in a way,
Hmm.
and it felt kind of sad. Even in retrospect, I'm sorry. In retrospect, the one thing I would have done is personally, I should have done was personally contact that person, have like a 1v1 meeting, and like just be frank and
Hmm.
ask him about like uh, what do you need help with, is there something going on. And I don't know, I'm not sure if our manager did that at the time,
Hmm. Hmm.
but it it didn't seem to have any effect. At the end the project was not going anywhere. I
Hmm.
was not there for a long duration because I saw an internal role for the IBM project, so I went there. So I
Hmm.
didn't see the entire thing at the end how it looked. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that was the one project where I felt that others were slacking off. Maybe one person, but yeah.
Okay, all right. That's a great example. So thank you for sharing that. And then now, when everybody is getting back to office, we've forgotten about what absolutely working from home looked like. What are what is your take on like hybrid or remote or working from office?
So I would say that speaking as someone who has worked in all three conditions, I have worked in person, I have worked remotely, and I have even worked hybrid in a hybrid role. I think that it depends on the organization in a way, or it depends on the team basically. If the team wants you to come in person, it should be in person.
Hmm.
And if the team feels it's better to be remote, then it should be remote. Or if the team feels comfortable, it should be hybrid, then it
Hmm.
should be hybrid. Because I think the choice uh, is an important thing there, because employees should be given a choice as to how they should work, what environment they should work in.
Hmm.
As for me, I don't mind working in a hybrid setting, like working 3 4 days in an office.
Hmm.
I don't mind working 5 days also, but I feel that with the pandemic and everything, I would be more comfortable in a slightly hybrid role.
Hmm.
I would get to see the best of both worlds in a way.
Yeah.
Uh, I I would be able to come in office, make a connection with the people that I'm working with, which is very essential,
Hmm.
and that is something we have slightly lost out on
Yeah.
while working remotely in a way. I
Yeah.
don't say it as a very bad thing or anything, but
Yeah.
it is completely different now as compared to like March 2020. So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I agree.
hybrid for me is the way to go.
Is the way to go. And then when you say
Sorry.
team should be given a choice of what they want to do, so when you say a team, that means internally they should be deciding, or the manager should be deciding. What is your opinion on that?
A team like for a project of like 15, 20 people, even in a big project, there are smaller teams as well. So there should be autonomy at every level in a way.
Mm,
Like the main head of the project can say, like can give freedom to the other managers who are working under him and say like you decide how you want your team to function, if they want to be hybrid, if they want to be remote
mm,
or something like that. So I
mm.
think the freedom should be there to choose
Right.
what environment they want to work in.
Correct. And then do you think that kind of mismanages with the whole culture of the company? Because some teams probably would prefer to be in the office because their resources are there in the office, and some teams might not prefer because then their resources might be all around in US or maybe global. How do you feel about that? That do you think that would affect the overall organizational culture or it wouldn't?
I think organizational culture is affected by how the employees feel themselves and how they are able to contribute. And I feel that if they are happy in their own work environments and they are effectively working as a team,
Mm,
then it shouldn't matter that everyone's working in a different way, like every team is working in a different environment. Of course, I feel that if it is not helping the company in a way, like it's not helping productivity, if it's the projects are getting late or something like that, then maybe yeah, then there should be like a company wide standard or a project wide standard. But otherwise
mm.
I feel that you should prioritize the employees comfort level when it comes to a work environment.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Perfect. Thank you. I think I have a good idea of what we're looking at. Do you have any concerns or questions for me?
No, I don't have any questions or concerns.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we'll cut it here. I took like around 20-ish minutes to do it, just so that we
Okay.
can have enough time and we can talk about
Sorry
whatever.
for the cough. Sorry for the
Oh,
coughing.
not at all, not at all. That's only human, so I get that. Do you need to
Yeah.
grab water or something?
Yeah, I'll grab water just for that. Thank
Yes,
you.
please do that. Yeah, absolutely. I always sit with it because then there is no other option if you have that in the middle of the meeting.
Yeah, water is the best way to go.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me, how did you feel about the whole, how did you answer the question? Let's see it from your perspective first.
I think it was a bit unprepared, but it was decently engaging. I would still say my grammar needs to improve a bit. I always feel that I don't know why. Uh, I do think my enunciation and my voice is good. I would
Yeah.
think I'm saying anything too loudly or too quietly in a way, but
Mhm.
I would still try to improve on it as much as I can.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah, not much
Sorry.
else.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
it's fine.
I was like absolutely agree on voice modulation was good. You were not too loud, not too soft. There was clear pronunciations. Not in a minute I thought that what is he trying to say, or I don't understand, or is it too loud? I didn't for a minute adjust my volume. So which was really good because then it looked engaging. So in that terms, it was really good. I didn't feel very um, anywhere that where I thought like, what is this grammar or what is this language? So I wouldn't concentrate on that too much. So you can take that out of your mind where I didn't feel like, oh, this is not good English or good language, or he's saying the same thing again and again in active and passive. I did not feel that ways. Um,
Okay,
every new sentence that you were trying to form had new information, which had some different in the last one. So which I would say that is a proper use of grammar, language, or whatever you were trying to say. None of your answers were too lengthy for me, which is good in a sense where I did not feel like, oh, he's on and on, and I don't have to take any more notes about it. But sometimes it's good to share more information, and I'll talk about it, individual questions. It's good to share information without being asked, because a recruiter is not an expert like you are, correct? So whatever terminologies, skills, and words you would use as a developer, I'm just going to write it down and I'm just going to hear it and write it in my notes. And that exactly is going to go to the hiring manager. So
okay,
if in a project you have used multiple languages, multiple applications, multiple projects, multiple platforms, I would suggest use all of those names, because they're just going to be a part of my notes and then they're just going to go to the hiring manager for a quick check.
Okay.
Even if it's all behavioral, each behavioral has a situation based, right? Like, have you ever been in a situation? So I would want you to start with an example or always give an example. Do not just come out with a situation where, like, yeah, this might have happened, and then how are you solving it? And again, you've mostly shared it, we'll go individually. Um,
Okay.
Before that, um, when I said that, do you have any questions for me? You usually ask questions, right? It is just because it was this setup you
Yeah,
wanted.
yeah, yeah. I do ask questions.
Perfect.
I think it also depends a bit on the initial interview, right? Because if it's a very beginner screening call,
Yeah.
I'm not sure even if I ask like what is a work environment there. I think I can ask that, but I don't think I can ask like what a developer does on a typical day, like what what I would do in that role on a typical day, right?
Right, right. So probably ask questions which are more generic. So like, why do we have this role open, or who will I be reporting to, and can you give me an idea of who else is in the team in terms of hierarchy? Or you can talk about that, has this hiring manager been a part of this team for long? Or like very generic question that a recruiter might know. Very good question would definitely be like, are we expected to be in the company, or where does my team sit, or is it going to be global, like does it have global stakeholders, or sister teams? Most of these questions recruiters would know, but always be prepared with at least 2 or 3 questions,
Yeah.
because that would again be like engaging and you're interested in all of those good things that you already know.
Okay.
Okay, so we talked about the last question. We'll go from the last so that it might be in your memory. We talked about the work from home and remote. I absolutely was not thinking of asking that, but then I asked because then I was just trying to understand how would we think about the company as a whole. Um, what came up to me is I really like that in the beginning you said that you have worked in all three of them, so you are open to it. So that showed flexibility, and that also shows that you're okay with whatever comes by your way. What I didn't like was not didn't like it's a little tough on you, but what you could have said different than a team should individually decide. You could have been a little bit more about depends on a lot about the company culture. If the stakeholders and the resources are sitting together, then it's always good to be in the office a couple of times a week, because I like that there is a personal connection, there's a bond, and everything can be sorted, um, rather than being on Zoom. But if the teams and the resources they are actually globally sitting, then there is no point coming in the office, because then I'll be stuck in a meeting room, and then I will not be able to speak to other people around. That being said, it also depends on the bigger company culture, because if we have events and all, happy hours or other events and all, I would love to be a part of it, because then I will get
Okay.
to meet everybody else, right?
Okay. Yeah, I should have mentioned the team events. I think that was missing, like the extra things. I think I didn't register it because while I was working at Persistent, so yeah, that is something I need to work on. I didn't
Right.
get to have that.
No worries. And that's why we're doing it. And I totally get that today you were caught off guard, and I know that. And that's why in the I wanted to ask what you have been informed, because I I think only spoke about it yesterday and you were scheduled today. So, but which is a good thing. There are times when we will be caught off guard, especially if it's an interview, and we need to be prepared. Um, why did I say about the extra team meetings and all? Because as an employee, I would want to see how invested you would be outside the team as well. So either you can talk about team activities, you can talk about employee resource group, you can talk about, oh, I can come and have a conversation with other team managers just to understand innovation or what other projects they are working on, so that I can be in help or they can be in help in my growth. Just a touch of that. But I like that you were in the beginning very clear that I've worked with all of these things. Um, the earlier question was what the projects that you've been. Wait, let me think. Yes, where a colleague underperformed and then the team had to take the bear of that, right? I
Yeah.
like that you discussed the project in the beginning. You discussed your designation in the beginning. You started talking about what skills were being used and then what exactly was the situation. So all those 4 things I would definitely want to hear, so that that gives me a ground of what was happening during the project. What I didn't like kind of was that you directly started speaking about how they didn't perform and it started affecting and what you would have done differently, right? A good approach. But then a biggest thing that was missing in between is you didn't tell me what actually did you do in real time.
Yeah, I should have mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, because what you said is you jumped, oh, this was happening, and then the result was affecting. And what I would have done now or retrospectively is this. But in between, you didn't give me any idea what actually happened. What was the course of action by you or the manager? And then did that somehow impact the overall team connection or the growth of the company? Um, it's very good to mention numbers sometimes, that you can be like that because of that misunderstanding, because of that delayed, the project was postponed for over a week, and that was a learning for all of us. Or just the opposite, that even because of all of this we were able to deliver on time. And I'm glad that our manager was very open in terms of communication and sitting together and having that pep talk with us that we need to work together. Anything that was in real time.
So anything related to real time, and also mention number in any context, like even positive or negative.
Yes, yes. And then whenever we're talking about someone else's conflict or someone else's um, problematic situation, we want to make sure that we show them as not a negative person, but a situational based negative person. That means that, like you showed yourself, that in the beginning you didn't know that you were supposed to report things or you were supposed to create those document, right? So if
Yeah.
you're talking about someone else's conflict or someone else's underperformance, you absolutely want to mention that, oh, that with that person we didn't set the expectation, that was a resource from the outside team. We did not set the expectations with them that they would need to be in that meeting, or they would need to maintain that documentation. So try not talking about the person badly, but then about the situation badly, probably.
Okay. Is Can you give me another example of how to frame it that way?
Absolutely. So if somebody would ask me that question, and I'll be like, yeah, that's a great question. And I would really want to bring an example of when I was working on a project. Then you will define the project, the designation, the skills and the situation. And then we got a resource from another team. We wanted to make sure that we have a specific analyst on the team because our team was shortened of that. When the analyst was onboarded, all the documentation and reporting was shared with them. And each weekly meeting, they were supposed to show up, but in their calendars it was mentioned optional, and they did not show up for the consecutive two meetings, affecting the whole performance and the schedule. All of us were speaking with them online, but then there was no actual authority and accountability of work that was supposed to be done by them. After those 2 weeks, we had a conversation with the manager, and we had to bring them on board that it wasn't an optional meeting and they need to be a part of documentations. And from there onwards, we got into the gear and then made sure that the project was delivered on time. But somehow during that time, we had to take a little shift from other projects and invest a little bit more time on here. That could have totally been avoided if the resource knew that they were a very integrate part of our project. And I think we as a team forgot, or we as a team didn't communicate that well to them.
Yeah. Okay.
So that kind of shows their responsibility, that they were supposed to be a part of it, they didn't, but also shows your responsibility as a team, that you let those 2 weeks pass by without letting them know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
There should be accountability on all sides. Yeah.
yeah, how does that sound to you?
Yeah, that sounded a lot better. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Hmm. Because we want to make sure that it sounds better, because again, it's your work, it's your performance, it's your situation. I'm just improving the storytelling piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds better.
Perfect. Okay. And then I think then we talked about one of the situations where, okay, I'm going to read the questions. Yes, where you had too many projects going on. One of the questions was like, how did
Yeah.
you handle
Yeah.
when there
Yeah.
were too many projects going on? Okay. Do you remember what you answered?
Yeah, I remembered. I said that I would do parts of each project, like do a bit of each project, and I would prioritize. I would do a larger chunk of the project whose deadline is earlier.
Right, perfect. So I heard a lot of time management, priority, and scheduling. These three things, correct? Um, Two more things that I would like to hear. One, if you have time, depending on how many questions have already been asked, I would love to hear an example and a very small one, that there was a time when I was, let's say, in X company as an ex employee, and I was given with three, four projects at the same time. Two were due to be launched, and two were in the running situation. And during that time, I had a good conversation with my manager to understand the timeline and deadlines, just so that can be, I can complete everything that I was supposed to complete on time. I kept open communication was my biggest thing, and so was reporting, because I was reporting and documenting everything so that my teammates can keep me accountable, and also I can go back to my own documentations to see if I am on check in terms of deadline. Why do I say it? Again, you don't have to give examples everywhere. But then when you said that I keep it on priority, and then I schedule it as per, it sounded very generic.
Yeah,
It come from a college grad also, and
yeah.
you
I'm
way
a
perfect.
professional, working professional, so yeah, I need to be.
Yeah. So it should sound like that there is documentation, there is reporting, there is more accountability. You are asking for an accountability partner where you're speaking with your manager about it, or you're speaking with the resources and the team or the project manager about where you are at in your performance. And then do you need to put in more time somewhere specifically? You can
Yeah,
talk about like stand-ups. In each stand-up, I made sure that they understood that how many hours I'm investing and how many hours I'm needed to invest in a specific project for that given week. So if I would want to hear, then I would probably want to hear. That's a great question. As a developer, we have multiple projects going on at the same time. Some are in the pipeline for launch, some are in the pipeline actually, which is a work in progress. I have a couple of I have a couple of tips that I work on. With one is documenting everything. That means which project is scheduled on what deadline, and if anything changes, I keep that on with my team. Second, extremely important is I log my hours at how many hours I've invested in a project for a week, and I speak about it with my manager so that they and I understand where am I needed more in the coming week. And there is also an accountability partner that I keep in the team so that we can talk about that as a developer, this many lines or this many hours I have coded, and then how I would be required to code more in one of a specific project. Um, Literally, it'll take a minute or minute and 30 to give all of this, and then you can talk about that it is extremely important to prioritize depending on project one, project two, and project three, and their timelines and deadlines also depend on what kind of resources we already have in that team or in that project.
yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, I know there's a lot of information, a lot of words coming out of me. It's recorded, so I'm glad it is that you can go back and probably watch it.
Yeah, I was also trying to take some notes, but yeah,
I
I will.
know. I just saw that it's recorded, but I was like, I'm not sure if you will be provided with the recording, but I hope they do, so it will be helpful for you also.
Yeah,
Okay. And I think there is one that you mentioned, that what one of the challenging projects that you've done, I think that was the second question that I asked. One of the challenging projects that you've been part of. What was the last project that you were part of, and what was the challenging piece of it? You pretty much answered it spot on. You mentioned the project, you mentioned the data. I think you mentioned growth impact in something, which was really good. You mentioned that what were you doing in it? What I really missed in the beginning was you didn't start with what the project, who you were. You started describing the situation, and
oh,
then
okay.
somewhere in between you were like, "Oh, I was this for the project." Um,
Yeah, yeah, I should have mentioned
it will
that.
be great to hear that. Oh, I would love to talk about X project when I was working with X company as an X. Why? Because then that gives me a clear idea ki, where do I need to look in the resume about the project? Or is the project 5 years ago, or was the project 5 years ago, or is it like the most recent project? Right? Then as a recruiter, I know where to look at it.
Yep,
What I didn't like is that you missed the second part of my question. So I asked two questions. What was the last project you were working on, and what was a challenging piece of it? So you
yeah,
talked a lot about the first piece. You forgot the second question,
yeah, I should have.
right? Yeah. So just make sure that you know that you have questions and you need to answer both of these questions. I know I had another question that I asked. Yes. What are the things that you need to improve on as a software developer, right?
Yeah,
Um, and then, do you remember what you said?
I said I should try and avoid being panicked whenever I face a setback.
Yes. Um, would you change that answer if you were given a chance?
No, not really.
Okay, all right.
I think
So
it's too. Is it too honest? I'm not sure.
yeah,
Okay.
I would
Okay.
say that.
Okay.
Again, nothing wrong in being too honest, but we always want our honesty to look like a strength and not otherwise. Because as soon as you will come and tell me that, hey, as an employee, I get panicked, I don't know how to manage situations, and in the future, I'm thinking of working on it by meditating. So I saw two things. One, right now it's not in control. Two, I also saw that you haven't started working on it already.
Okay. Yeah. The way I use that verb. Okay.
Correct. And again, maybe that's why you were thinking about grammar there. It landed on me in the sense where it looked like you haven't started working on it. I
Yeah.
would probably say, and again, using the same words, I would probably say, oh, that's a great question. You touched on it right. I have been working on getting a little less invested on my projects. As soon as I get my projects, I get over enthusiastic and I start working on it relentlessly. I kind of need to divide and structure my time and my energy between it, and also not throw it on the other team members when they are not available as per their time.
Yeah.
I've also started working on it where I'm learning to take pauses, where I'm learning to take pauses before I reply to any email or answer in the meeting. So just
Yeah.
same thing in a positive sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I know there's one more question. I think there was like you created a mistake or some fault. Wait, let me read it first. Um, Yes, I think there's one question you offered. I would say that there were no. Oh, yes. I think I asked a question that said, I'm sorry, I didn't write the whole question. I think I asked a question where I said that where you made a mistake and how would you do it differently? And I think you said that you underperformed in a project. So you started, but then you didn't know what your expectations were.
Yeah.
And correct. So you started again, you were too honest for me as a recruiter. That landed on me in a sense where you like spoon feeding, where you were supposed to told what you were supposed to do in the project. um if you had to rephrase it, you would probably say that, oh, yeah, I can talk about one of the mistakes that I did early on in my career where I was given a project. And then while taking or the intake meeting or while onboarding on that project, I didn't take a lot of notes. And I thought that there would be other team members explaining things to me and how it needs to be done. And from there, that was an accountability check that I need to do my own things, I need to take my own notes, and um, maybe go and ask questions with the teammates. I probably was um, taking it slow, one thing at a time, when I shouldn't have. I should have actively proactively asked questions with the manager, which I did not. So again, make it sound a little positive that you didn't ask proactive questions and you only ask questions when things were almost to be done. What you
Yeah.
said was that you asked questions when things were done badly and then you retrospectively wanted to change it.
Yeah.
Right? So it in a sense where, oh, I wanted to ask proactive questions, but I didn't know where to draw that line of asking too many questions.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
heard of. Yeah.
Okay. Again, a lot of your honestly, your idea of what you have done, your work, a lot of things are very clear in your mind. I like the language, I like your screen presence. So it's not like that you're anxious, you're scared. It doesn't come up, even if you are, it doesn't show up that way, which is really, really good. I like that there was body language, there was eye contact, there was hand movements. All of that is really good, even for a phone screen. Absolutely sit like that. Be prepared as if you're giving a video call. um just storytelling piece of it could be a little better, where even if you're being extremely honest, try being honest in a sense where it shows like a strength, where it shows it's an advantage of you, not a
Yeah.
disadvantage as a employee. As a recruiter, I've seen that if someone has 80% of the hard skills and they're missing 20% of the soft skills, we would still prefer someone who has 70% of the hard skill and has those 20% or 30% of the soft skills. You're not missing those at all by any means. It just the storytelling piece of it needs to be a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me? I know a lot has been said in 46 minutes, but
No, no, it's fine. It's good. I needed that, and I wanted to know. I don't think Sachin mentioned it to me. But is there any way another session can be held, or anything extra regarding this can be held?
yes, yes. And I think I'll have to speak to Sachin as well about it because, again, this is my fourth session as well. I probably don't want to give any information that I myself don't have. I'll speak with them. Of course, you'll also get to speak with them, once this is done. And then we can figure out how this goes. But I hope this was extremely helpful. And of course, you can always reach out with more questions to either Sachin and me, howsoever this is going to work. But the questions I asked are the questions that we always ask with the candidate. Other than the last question, the remote work and hybrid, we usually don't ask that. I just wanted to
Yeah,
test waters
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's fine. Yeah,
Okay, perfect. I have your LinkedIn here on, I can see it right here because I think Sachin shared it with me. So um, we can be connected there. But again, like I'm saying, I'm pretty sure Sachin has a game plan for us. So we'll wait for them to speak with us.
yeah. That's fine. That's fine. I don't mind waiting for that.
Yeah. All right. Sounds fantastic. Anything else that I can help you with?
No, that's all.
Okay. Perfect, Shardul. Thank you so much. And I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. It
All
was
right.
nice talk. Great talking to you.
Great talking to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.